Okay, welcome to this presentation. So I'll just start with the host institution, which is RCMRD. Welcome to RCMRD. This is the home of GIS. That's our location, and that's where we are located on the maps. So we cover 20 member states. So the ones shaded in green. And then we have some non-contracting member states shaded in pink. So the greens are the ones that we serve, which were mandated by the UNECA and the African Union, our co-establishers and founders. So we support them in geospatial services and other GIS allied technologies. So our main vision is to be a premier center of excellence in provision of the information and allied technologies for sustainable development in the member states and other stakeholders. So then we are headed by the Conference of Ministers, who will also be having their meeting this year at the Governing Council in Zambia. So our key thematic areas at RCMRD includes agriculture and food security. We have key interest on how we can be able to link it to the SDG concerning food and security. We have biodiversity and conservation, our core mandate here at the new Regional Center of Excellence. We have water and disasters, we have land use ecosystems, and then finally we have interest in environment and climate resilience. So I'll introduce you to the Regional Center of Excellence for Biodiversity, Forests and Seascape Ecosystem Management. So these are projects that was born through a merger between BioPharma and OFESA, that is Biodiversity and Protected Areas Management, which was being implemented by RCMRD and IUCN, funded by EU, and then together with OFESA, funded by EU, implemented by RCMRD and C4. So BioPharma was covering 24 countries in the Eastern and Southern Africa, purposefully on biodiversity and protected areas. And then OFESA was covering 5 countries in Eastern Africa, purposefully for creation of and development of forest observatory in these 5 countries. So the 2 projects were merged, and that gave birth to the Regional Center of Excellence on Biodiversity, Forests and Seascapes. So our key objective in this project is to ensure forests, biodiversity and seascape ecosystems are sustainably managed, and we are continuing to provide ecosystem services that contribute to the well-being of the populations by providing improved, regular and updated information for informed decision-making. Here we have the likes of the information system. We have a knowledge management platform where you can be able to go get some knowledge products. The geoportal where you'll be able to access data sets, information, infographics, dashboards, story maps, web maps, and other GIS data and information. And then we have policy, where now how does our information and products influence the decision-making and policy-making in our implementing countries. And then we have our key thematic areas. We are concerned in biodiversity, forestry, and seascapes. Those are our 3 areas that lie within this project. So the project is funded by EU, as I had stated earlier. Then it's being implemented by C4ICRAF and RCMRD as the implementing partners. We have a coverage of 24 countries. This is one of the biggest coverage within the project. So all along from Sudan up to the Indian Ocean Islands, Madagascar, Comoros, Mauritius, and Seychelles, up to South Africa. So our stakeholders include those involved in forestry, wildlife and conservation. We have those from seascape or marine, biodiversity, and then lastly we have the research and academia. That's why most of the invitees are from those key areas. and we endeavor to collaborate with them to ensure that we fulfill the objective of the project. So thank you so much. That was just a brief presentation of the RCoE. So I'll invite my colleague Martin to take us through the next presentation on how now it will be linked to the CBD. So welcome, Martin.
Thank you, Isaac. I'm going to share the screen.
Okay, we can be introducing ourselves. You just type your name, your organization, and the country you're coming from.
I hope you can see the screen. As my colleague has mentioned, my name is Martin Nyoro, and I'll be giving a brief on the RCoE linkage with the technical support center roles, and also announcing the upcoming data exchange and knowledge workshop that is linked to the GBF targets. Thank you. I hope you can see my screen. So as I had mentioned, I'm going to give an update on the RCoE linkage to the technical support centers, role of the Convention of Biodiversity, and also an upcoming data exchange and knowledge workshop linked to the GBF targets. Next slide. Next slide. So a brief about the CBD. The entry came into force in December 1993, 29th December, and it has 196 member states, which includes the countries my colleague has mentioned in the Eastern and Southern of Africa countries. Its role is to provide a global legal framework for action on biodiversity, and also for the Global Environmental Facility, provide funding to assist in the developing countries in meeting the environmental objectives, and also to supplementary frameworks under the CBD include the Katega and the Nagoya protocols, and the Convention of Parties is the governing body and meets every 2 years or as needed. Next slide. So the CBD core goals include the sustainable use of biodiversity, the conservation of biodiversity, and the fair and equitable sharing of benefits arising from utilization of biodiversity, which all link to living in harmony with nature. So for the main threats as we talk about biodiversity include the land and water use change. There is the overexploitation of resources, invasive species, pollution. There is also climate change as a result of either deforestation, which leads to land degradation. Next slide. So for the linkage between the Regional Center of Excellence and the technical support centers, the Conference of Parties established a mechanism that consists of network of regional and sub-regional scientific cooperation to be coordinated at a global level that will assist in implementation of the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, and they work to achieve and the work of the conventions and all its protocols. So for the Regional Center of Excellence, it's already supporting countries in implementation of the GBF targets through providing technology needs, which we usually do by facilitating the technical and scientific operations and technology transfer among the 24 countries the project covers. We also provide data needs by updating the World Database of Protected and Conserved Areas in these countries. And we also carry out a capacity, we also support in providing capacity needs through the data training and workshops that we usually invite participants from the countries, and also by development of knowledge products from the data that we generate, among other needs. So in this regard, the Regional Center of Excellence made an application to be a technical support center, and the functions of the technical support center will be: one is to provide a one-stop center to provide access to technical and scientific knowledge, information, data expertise, tools, and other resources to the countries that it covers, and also to strengthen the capacity of regional and sub-regional and also national institutions through a joint research and development programs, and also to mobilize resources to provide timely and targeted support for projects and activities that address specific technical and scientific needs. So what was being assessed was the institutional technical capacity, the ability to manage complex projects and programs, the capacity to mobilize and manage resources, and also work with network and collaborators. So this is the timeline of the application process. It began in October 2023 when RCMRD made the application. In November 2023, we were selected to have passed the first stage, went through the second stage, and as you can see from the screen, we are here in May 2024, where we are happy to announce that we have been selected as a technical support center in the region, in the eastern and southern of Africa, in the eastern region of Africa, covering 12 countries, including Madagascar, Seychelles, Comoros, and Mauritius, the island countries. And at this stage, I also want to take this opportunity to thank the countries and the CBD focal points for their role and the partnership and what they provided to the CBD in support of RCMRD as a host center. For how these technical support centers will be financed, one will be the support centers will be expected to mobilize resources to support their activities, and also the Secretariat of the CBD will also facilitate in the process of identifying donors that could provide additional funding to the technical support centers. And during the COP15, it invited Jeff also to support activities of the selected support centers, including governments and relevant organizations, in order to provide financial and technical support. And also the selected support centers will be expected to engage and collaborate with relevant partners and also leverage existing links within the support initiatives, which include the NBSAP Accelerator Partnership, the Global Knowledge Support Service for Biodiversity, High Ambition Coalition, and the BBI. So I also wish to announce that in September, we will be having an upcoming data exchange and knowledge workshop from 30th September to 4th of October 2024 here in Nairobi at RCMRD premises in order to, the training will involve the data and also the generation of knowledge products linked to the GBF targets. So I'll leave it at that, and I'll invite my colleague Eric to take you through the global biodiversity framework.
Thank you, Mr. Martin Nyoro. As introduced by my colleague, my name is Eric Juma-Ogwile, and I'm here to take you through the global biodiversity framework. As already presented, the work of the Regional Center of Excellence for Biodiversity, Forests and Seascapes Ecosystems Management is to help in conserving biodiversity, and our work is linked to the implementation of the global biodiversity framework. So I will take you through what is the global biodiversity framework. It is a comprehensive approach to conservation of biodiversity and ensuring that natural resources are sustainably used, and that the benefits that arise from biodiversity are equitably shared among the members. Apologies, can you see my screen? Is it moving?
It's okay.
Can you hear me? Okay, I'll proceed. So the GBF is a comprehensive strategic approach to conserving biodiversity and ensuring that natural resources are used sustainably and that the benefits arising from biodiversity are equitably shared. And the GBF was adopted by parties to the Convention on Biological Diversity, CBD, in December 2022. When the CBD was having the UN Biodiversity Conference in Montreal, Canada. So the Kunming Montreal Global Biodiversity Targets has 23 specific targets and long-term goals that should be achieved. The targets are set to be achieved by the year 2030, while the goals are set to be achieved by the year 2050. So for the targets, if you can summarize the 23 targets, all of them are geared towards protecting and conserving at least 30% of the planet's land and sea areas, reducing pollution and the use of pesticides, restoring degraded ecosystems, ensuring sustainable use of biodiversity, halting species extinction due to human activities, and integrating biodiversity values in policies and decision-making processes. So all of the 23 can be summarized into the six areas that I have just presented. So as you can see, targets 1 to 4, all of them are geared towards conserving biodiversity, and then targets 5 to 8 are geared towards avoiding harmful practices to biodiversity. Then targets 9 to 13 are about safeguarding biodiversity, and target 14 to 23 are about mechanisms for the implementation of the framework. Then about implementation and monitoring, the implementation of the global biodiversity framework relies on the national actions, with each country expected to develop what we call national biodiversity strategy and action plan, which should be aligned with the global framework. And then regular monitoring and reporting mechanisms are established to track progress. So countries are required to report on their actions and achievements towards the target. In Eastern and Southern African region, almost every country reported on the national targets identified in the NBSAPs and on how the national targets contributed to the global IG biodiversity targets that were ended in 2020. So countries are also expected to do the same, to report on the national targets as identified in the revised national biodiversity strategies and action plans under the global biodiversity framework. And the Regional Center of Excellence can support countries to improve their own data for the CBD reporting and develop capacities to implement and report on the GBF targets. So one of the key components of the framework, of the global biodiversity framework, is about inclusivity and stakeholder involvement. So the framework emphasizes the importance of inclusivity and involving indigenous people and local communities, civil societies, private sectors, and other stakeholders in biodiversity conservation efforts. So it's an effort that the countries will not achieve alone, but the framework recognizes the role of other actors in ensuring that the framework is achieved, that the targets are achieved. And of particular importance is also the role of traditional knowledge and practices in conserving biodiversity. The framework also considers the global collaborations and partnerships in the success of the targets. Countries are encouraged to work together and share knowledge and technologies and support each other in biodiversity conservation efforts, as well as partner with other international conservation organizations and actors to ensure that biodiversity is conserved, that the degraded lands are restored, and that there's equitable sharing of proceeds that emanate from biodiversity. So, as the Regional Center of Excellence, we can support countries with the data and capacity needs for Target 1, 2, and 3. Target 1 of the Global Biodiversity Framework, and these targets are summarized. Actually, if you are to go and read about them, they are very long statements. But Target 1 is about planning and managing all areas to reduce biodiversity loss. And then Target 2 is about restoring 30% of all degraded ecosystems. And Target 3 is about conserving 30% of land, waters, and seas. So each of these targets have their target elements. They also have target indicators, and they have relevant resources that can be used in the implementation of the targets. So one key element of Target 1 is about spatial planning, planning the land, the waters, and the seas. The second is about effective management processes, managing these areas, biodiversity areas, effectively. And the spatial planning should be applied to all areas. Spatial planning should not be only restricted in certain areas, but it should be applied to all areas. Then the whole process of spatial planning should be participatory. All the stakeholders should be involved in the spatial planning. Then the spatial planning should also be integrated and biodiversity inclusive. The spatial planning should also address land and sea use changes. Areas of high biodiversity importance should be taken into account as well. There should be high ecological integrity. High ecological integrity is about the structures should be as natural as possible. It should actually mimic natural ecosystem. Then one element of the target 1 is about respecting the rights of indigenous people and local communities. So any kind of planning that is done should actually respect the rights of indigenous people and local communities, and they should be involved in any decision that relates to their territories. Then the headline indicator for target 1 is the red list of ecosystems. The second headline indicator is the extent of natural ecosystems. And the third headline indicator of target 1 is the percentage of land and seas covered by biodiversity inclusive spatial plans. We have also component indicators, e.g. the priority retention of intact or wilderness areas. Then we also have complementary indicators, which are many. You can get them from the CBD websites. Then the relevant resources that can be used to assist in implementation is the IP-based Global Assessment Report on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services of 2019, the information on the ecosystem approach under the CBD Division 13/9 on marine spatial planning and training initiatives, then UNDP Integrated Spatial Planning Workbook. Other resources can be obtained from the CBD websites. Target 2 of the Global Biodiversity Framework is about restoring 30% of all degraded ecosystems. This target has elements like restoration. Countries should be deliberate about restoring their ecosystems. The restoration efforts should be effective. And by effectiveness is that to ensure that all restoration efforts ensure that biodiversity is conserved. The other element is about degraded ecosystems. Priority should be given to degraded ecosystems. And countries should actually map out degraded ecosystems and give them priority when restoring the ecosystem. Then terrestrial, inland water, marine, and coastal ecosystems should be considered in the restoration efforts. The restoration efforts should enhance biodiversity, ecosystem functions, and services. And the restoration should ensure that there is connectivity and integrity of the ecosystems. So all those are the targets under the elements under target 2. And the headline indicator for target 2 is the area under restoration. So that is what will be used to monitor how the countries are faring towards implementing these targets. The component indicator include the extent of natural ecosystems by type. It also includes maintenance and restoration of connectivity and natural resources. Then the complementary indicators include increase in secondary natural forest cover, and the others can be accessed through the CBD websites. The relevant resources that can be used to assist in implementation is the IPBES 2018 report on the assessment report on land degradation and restoration, the UNCCD Global Land Outlook, land restoration for recovering the resilience work of 2022, the FAO State of World Forests work of 2020, the UNEP Global Peatlands Assessment of 2022, the UNCCD work on National Voluntary Land Degradation Neutrality Targets and related country reports submitted under the UNCCD. Other resources can be accessed or obtained from the CBD websites. The third target of the Global Biodiversity Framework is about conserving 30% of land, water, and seas. And the target elements in this target is that first is protected areas. The second is other effective area-based conservation measures. Third is the indigenous and traditional territories. So all these can be used to contribute to conserving 30% of land, waters, and seas. Then there are areas of particular importance for biodiversity and ecosystem functions and services. Then other elements of the target is about effectively conserved and managed areas. So it does not only look at the percentage, but it also looks at the effectiveness of conservation and management of those areas. It also looks at ecological representativeness. It also looks at connectivity. So all those areas should be well connected to ensure that the biodiversity is conserved. It also looked at equitable governance. The governance of those areas should be equitable. Then it also looked at sustenance and use of consistent conservation objectives. So sustainable use that is consistent with conservation objectives. So if biodiversity is used, it should be used sustainably, and the use should be consistent with the conservation objectives of the framework. And then it also looks at the rights of indigenous peoples and local communities. Any decision that is made should incorporate the views of indigenous peoples and local communities. The rights of the indigenous people and local communities must be respected when these areas, in regard to any decision that relates to those areas. Then the headline indicator for this target is coverage of protected areas and the OECMs. OECMs is other effective area-based conservation measures. The component indicator is a protected area coverage for key biodiversity areas. There is protected area management effectiveness. There is protected area connectivity. There is protected area connectedness index. There is the red list of ecosystems connectivity indicator, and the number of protected areas that have completed a site-level assessment of governance and equity, SAGE, and there is a species protection index. So all these indicators will be used to assess or to monitor how countries are faring or progressing towards achieving the targets. Complementary indicators include the protected area, degradation, what you call PAD. The status of key biodiversity areas are also key towards assessing how countries are faring on in terms of achieving the target. IUCN green list of protected and conserved areas and other complementary indicators can be found on the CBT websites. Relevant resources that can assist implementation include the World Database on Protected Areas. As my colleague mentioned, we update this database. The Global Database on Protected Areas Management Effectiveness, we also update it. The Global Report on Protected Areas and related individual country dossiers. So this report, the previous one was developed in 2021, the year 2021, but we have another report that is underway, being developed this year, and we're also supporting the development of the report. The third resource is Creating Nature Positive Future, the contribution of protected areas and other effective area-based conservation measures work. Then you can find other resources on the CBD website under Target 3. So we plan to actually obtain the needs and priorities from you. We shall be sharing a questionnaire with you next week to capture your priorities and needs based on the on the 3 targets that I have just presented. The Regional Center of Excellence can support you on those 3 targets. And therefore, if you have any priorities or you have any needs that relate to the 3 targets, please feel free to share them with us through the questionnaire that shall be shared. But just to get an idea of the kind of targets that you should focus on, there is a poll that will display on your screen. Just select the targets that you feel you need support on. And then it will give us an idea of the kind of support or the kind of targets that we need to focus more, or the kind of targets that we should support you more on. So just take a minute and select the target that you require support on. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Eric, for that comprehensive presentation. So we've launched a poll. Kindly select the targets that you would like us to support in your organization. So we'll be displaying results as they come in. So Ngugi was supposed to join the meeting, but due to some urgent issues, he didn't manage to join. So apologies for that, but we are representing him well. So we'll proceed with the next presentation. So as part of the corporate social responsibility and involvement of the youth, we came up with a program or an activity, and that program or activity is called RCMRD painting, drawing, and map competition. So we've been holding it. We've been holding the competition for past years. So I'd just like to present what we expect this year. Okay. So I hope all of you can see my screen. So I'll be taking you through the RCMRD drawing, painting, and map competition 2024 edition. But before we do that, we also have an annual conference that we normally hold that will include technical experts, professionals, and researchers in the academic institutions. And this year we'll be having our RCMRD International Conference taking place from 13th to 15th August 2024. And it will be held here at RCMRD physically, Nairobi, Kenya. So you can always register. Earth is Earth. Our theme for this year's week is Earth, our only home. And we expect it will be running for 3 days. We expect 60 presentations. And then we expect 1,000 attendees, 15 exhibitions. And then we also have some keynote speakers, around 10. So we encourage you to visit RCMRD website. You'll get all the details about registration, and you can also be able to attend either as a sponsor or a participant, or you can attend as an abstract presenter. So for those who like to sponsor us, we have several packages. You have the platinum, gold, silver, and bronze. You can always choose whatever you like to sponsor us with. And then you can also submit an abstract from your organization or personally, so that you're also able to present during the week. And we have these thematic areas: agriculture and food security, biodiversity conservation and blue economy, land management, policy development, disaster risk reduction and health, innovation and data, gender and social inclusion. So you can always visit RCMRD RIC 2024 website to register and also submit your abstract. So the registration is ending on Friday, tomorrow. So if you are to register, kindly do it before tomorrow. And then the main topic today is RCMRD drawing, painting, and map competition. So the theme of this competition this year is to conserving our biodiversity, forest and seascape ecosystems, as is in line with the RCoE themes. So the total price tag is 16,000 euros. So that's just an incentive. And then we have the period running from 22nd March. Those who are here during the data training, we launched it on that day, 22nd March 2024, and it will be running up to 19th November 2024. You can visit the link, RCMRD Africa Geoportal. You will go to RCMRD Map Competition 2024. So in your browser, just type RCMRD Map Competition 2024, and you'll be able to get the registration link. You can be able to participate in that competition. Now, what is the main aim of this competition? We are aiming towards promoting the use of maps, earth observation, and create awareness of the data sharing geoportal. So you observe that during these project implementations, we normally get a lot of data. So this data just sleeps in our geoportals. So instead of having this data idling in our geoportals and in our servers, we have this initiative that will now help users to access the data, use it, and also create some innovative and creative solutions that will help address issues with the biodiversity, forestry, and seascapes. So our three themes are biodiversity, forest, and seascape, as mentioned. So you can register for the competition, submit your entry for judgment. So we cover 25 countries, and this includes the 24 countries that you are working with in the RCoE project. So you have award prizes. So there are several categories that you can be able to participate. So for those who have school-going kids and children in either primary or high school, they will be awarded 3,000 euros each school. So that is for primary and secondary for the winning school. Then for the professional category, of which most of us fall there, the GIS experts, the remote sensing analysts. So you can either participate in the three thematic areas, biodiversity, seascape, or forestry. So if you manage to win, you can be able to walk away with the 2,000 euros. And then the overall winner will be voted by people that will be able to win 4,000 euros prize. And on top of that, all the winners will be able to receive an 1-year S3 ArcGIS online license for personal use. So if you are struggling as an organization or as a person, creating some good apps, dashboards, so this is the opportunity. Submit your entry. If it wins, you'll have your licenses delivered to you, and that will be a good step towards developing some innovative spatial products. So what do we expect from a school category? We expect a map painting or a map drawing that communicates and is relevant to what you are doing. So like the first image on the left, it's labeled as Save the Environment. It was a primary school submission. So we did, that was the winning entry among the primary schools. And then on the right, you have the map drawing of the My Tasks Are Valuable. So the main topic here is advocating against anti-poaching by people or those who are in illegal hunting of these animals. And that is okay in the conservation and preservation of the biodiversity. The first painting was on the environment for deforestation, which leads to frowning. So you can see people frowning on the other side. The other side is doing well due to good conservation efforts that are being undertaken by people. So those are some of the creative products that we expect from the school categories. And if they win, they walk away with the prize. Now, for the professional category, what do we expect? So we endeavor to submit either a web map. This is an online shareable and interactive map that you can create. And then you have a story map. These are telling a story within the GIS environment. So you can create a narrative of the activities that you are doing. If you are doing a conservation in a certain protected area, you can tell a story. How has it started? How is it going? And how did it end? And what is the impact towards the conservation of biodiversity, forestry, and seascapes? And then a data dashboard. These are just a one-page layout that summarizes all the data sets, infographics, statistics, and the indicators that you have in your line of study or in your line of research. So if you're in forestry, you can create a data dashboard on forest management and conservation. You can show us how the forest has been performing from the inception, let's say 1990 up to today, in form of numbers. And then a map application. This is a customizable application that you create. It's a self-configurable. So someone can be able to play around with some layers and configure to suit what he or she wants to be displayed or to be processed within your map application. So for the professional category, here we don't need you to be an expert. We'll always train you. We have a JS expert here, Martin and Eric. I'm also in that field. So we shall be holding these webinars more often. We shall start in June, July, and August. So we'll be training you on how to create and develop these products. So for the school category, we'll be sending some information on how they can be able to create these products and submit them to our judges. So what are the key timelines? So we launched the map competition in 22nd March 2024. It was here at RCMRD. So from June, July, August, we shall be having online webinars on how you can be able to create these submission formats. So 30th August will be the deadline for submitting these map competition products. And then from 1st September to 10th October, we shall be having judges evaluation. So RCMRD will not be part of the judgment. So this will be independent judges. So if you don't get a slot in the finalists, so you don't, RCMRD will not be held accountable because these are independent people who will be reviewing these products. So if they find a good product, it will emerge as a winner. So from 21st to 25th October 2024, we shall now set up an overall winner poll, which the entries will be voted. So if you emerge as a winner there by the majority of the votes, so it's like, just like the normal voting system. So the majority wins. So here there's a lot of campaign. So if you are one of the entries, you have to campaign for you to get the votes. And then the winners will be announced during the RCMRD Governing Council meeting to be held in Zambia. That is on 19th November 2024. So you don't have to worry how you reach Zambia. So we'll be taking care of you. So don't worry. So we expect if you participate, we'll be able to sort you out. So that's just a brief presentation of what I have to share. So thank you so much. So we can invite some few minutes. Maybe Martin can tell us what the few minutes will be. So back to you, Martin.
Thank you, Isaac, for the presentation. So we can have a brief Q&A session, because I believe you might have some questions. Some of them have been addressed through the chats. We have one question from Heru from Ethiopia. He has a question about the linkage of RCoE to CBD, and what about its linkage to the SDG goals, the Global Forest Goals, AFR 100 and other forestry commitments. And is there a separate treatment of forestry in the project RCoE? Is there a separate data training for forestry? Yeah, so answer the question. So maybe Eric can answer the question.
Thank you, Mr. Heru, for the question. Indeed, the Regional Center of Excellence has 3 thematic areas. It has biodiversity, then the forests, and then the seascapes. And each of the three is treated separately. Of course, they all relate to each other, but biodiversity is a theme on its own. Forest is a theme on its own, and seascapes is a theme on its own. So we also, the work that we are doing also links to the SDGs. Life on Earth and life under the water. So we also link to those things. We also, under the forestry, we also link with the regional targets like AFR 100 and other forestry commitments. So those are also part of what we focus on as, under the Regional Center of Excellence. As whether we shall be having two separate trainings, that one we will have to, we can have one training that is divided into three. So for the forestry, if there is any need to have a separate forestry training, then that one we shall think about it and see if we can have the three. But the way we approach it is that we can have one training that covers the three thematic areas. One training that covers biodiversity, one that covers forests and the seascapes under the agenda. I hope I have answered your questions.
Thank you, Eric. Maybe we can also give a chance for anyone who wants to ask a question. Maybe you can raise your hand and we can give you a chance to answer the question. We also have a question from Baitshabi Edith Hill from Botswana. She's asking whether the member states will be fully sponsored for the August conference. My colleague Isaac Fadamula will answer the question.
Okay, thanks, Martin. So the conference is free. So attendance is free. So if you register, we don't charge you anything. But when you're coming as an individual, you have to maybe sort your transport and accommodation. But once you're here, we'll provide you the meals. So feel free to register and to attend.
هذه بلاجك أسيتو معلك وشك معلك هذا عمل هذا نور أنا وعاية كان دعوة وشيء.
Ask your question.
Yes, kindly state where you're asking, where you come from. Yeah. Abubakar?
Yes, good morning.
Yes.
Good morning, RCMRD team.
Good morning, Abubakar.
Yes.
This is Nair Abubakar. I'm the head of cartographic unit, Ministry of Land in Comoros Island. I would like to know, can you give more detail on the specific action that the Center of Excellence can support the country? I mean, are they only training? If it's training, is it at national level or will they be provided at the center? Secondly, are you going to support activities like data collection? You know, we're having some data here, but sometimes going to the field, it's issue because of some constraint, financial, of lack of tools. So is the center able to support data collection in field? That was my two questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Abubakar. I think I can jump in. What the Regional Center of Excellence can support will depend on the priorities and needs of the country. So once you submit your needs, and the needs vary from one country to another, if you tell us that your needs is about data collection, or tell us your needs is about capacity, or organize this data, then we will now come and see how we can support the needs of the countries based on how they have responded. So what we will support will depend on what you will tell us. So we will give you a questionnaire. Tell us exactly what you require, and then based on that, we will now come and plan on how we can support you. Is that okay, Abubakar?
Yes, thank you very much for the answer. I know the need will be different from one country to another one. It will be specific to the country. So we are waiting for the questionnaire. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care. Welcome.
Anyone else with a question? We can take 2 more questions before we wrap it up. Maybe you can raise your hand if you have a question. We have a question on the chat from Peter Hongo asking where is the link for the RIC registration. We'll be sharing it in the chat. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank you all for joining the meeting and taking your time to listen to us and being part of the Regional Center of Excellence. So I hope you have all filled the questionnaire that was shared, so that we try and make sure we capture your needs. There was also a question about the presentations. We will be sharing the presentations after the webinar. Abubakar says that he did not receive the questionnaire. It was a poll that was shared during the meeting.
Abubakar, we will send the questionnaire next week. We will send it next week to everyone to give us your priority and needs. So thank you.
Being that it's 6 minutes past 12 here in Nairobi, Kenya, we can say I think the poll is still active. Okay, thank you all for your time and for joining the meeting. We will be sharing the questionnaires next week. Thank you and enjoy your afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you.